Mom, Dad's being weird again.
Luscious.
Honey,
So full.
it's just grass.
Oh, it's so much more than just grass. It's a healthier, greener, and more luscious lawn. Yours can be too.
Look at you.
With Kaburski Brothers Lawn Care.
Remember, no shoes on the lawn. Because you're so beautiful.
Call or click today.
Shane Gillis, live on stage.
I'm a bit of a history buff, which, by the way, that is early onset Republican.
His biggest tour ever is coming to Des Moines.
You're a white dude in your 20s and 30s, and you're like, I can't stop reading about World War II. It's coming, bro.
See Shane Gillis with his unmistakable comedic style. Live at Wells Fargo Arena Saturday, May 31st. Get tickets now at iowaeventcenter.com. For more, visit ShaneMGillis.com.
Hello and welcome to the first ever in-person Bigger Than 12. I'm Jake Brend in Iowa, as always, joined by Derek Duke.
Also in Iowa.
Welcome to the Cyclone State, my friend.
Thank you. It's good to be back. My third time back. I told you about that. It's my third trip here. I think I'm done with all the touristy stuff. I think I told you that earlier. So now it's just socializing, drinking, concert tonight, of course. So just having fun this trip. Don't have a plan or an agenda. Just kind of free going it.
Yeah, so we're recording this Thursday afternoon. It's going to go out Friday morning. So we're not going to talk much NFL draft, if at all, because we don't want to date it. But we're recording this before we head to Brooks and Dunn at the Iowa Event Center.
Yes.
It's going to be a fantastic night. Are you a big, like a huge Brooks and Dunn fan?
I mean, it's going to be a boot, scoot, and boogie in time. Don't get me wrong. But I'm probably not the biggest Brooks and Dunn fan. My wife over here is. She's a big Brooks and Dunn fan. I think Ronnie Dunn's from Abilene, Amarillo, somewhere around there. He's from Texas.
Your parts.
Yeah. Well, not my parts. It's a totally different landscape country. But no. So, yeah, Brooks and Dunn, good. They're going to put on a good show. I actually saw them last year in San Antonio at the rodeo last year, I believe. So we did get to see Brooks and Dunn. That was my first time seeing Brooks and Dunn. Put on a pretty good show. So I will say I'm looking forward to
I can't wait.
Concert tonight for sure.
I cannot wait.
Of course, and then our Iowa everywhere people are going to be there, so it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, it's going to be. So me, you, wife Michelle, Aiden, Williams, Van Winkle,
yeah.
And then our advertising director, John Liebel. There might even be more. That's just all I know about.
I think there's going to be
some channel folk.
Yeah, probably.
It's going to be a fantastic night. It's just a big day for Iowa. We're sponsors. Derek and I were just at Confluence.
Yes.
I had a couple downtown throwdowns.
Had the Over the Ivy, the Cubs beer. Is that the Cubs beer?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good.
That place is so good. So we had a couple beers there. Coming over here to do a show now in the Channel Seed Studios, the real life Channel Seed Studios, not the virtual Channel Seed Studios.
It's everything I could have imagined.
And more.
And more. Yeah, I was a little confused in the lobby. I wasn't sure where I was going here because it's just a bunch of doors, but it was pretty good. The lady looked at me funny. I did bring a 6-pack of beer in here. She was a little confused. I was a little confused, so it made for a good moment here. But no, it's quite the operation you guys have here. Aiden, I said Aiden before the show, he's got a lot of setting up to do here. I would not want to do that job. I wouldn't want to clean this place up either.
Yeah, we get the easy job. We're just here to talk, drink a couple beers.
I said that I would just show up and then Aiden kind of just does the rest of the work. All I have to do is
That's honestly true.
We have to talk into a microphone. Aiden's the one back there, has to do all the technical stuff, pushing buttons left and right. God knows what else he has to do. He does everything short, but wipe my ass.
But yeah, it'll be a good night at the Iowa Event Center. All of those Iowa Everywhere sponsors, I'd like to give a shout out to the presenting sponsor of Bigger Than 12, WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax, based right here in Ankeny. They are finally out of tax season. I'm sure very, very relieving for them. Now they can specialize in their retirement planning, no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you're Derek and I's age, young adult, whether you're going on your 60s and getting ready to be done working, or anywhere in between. Tim Hawkins and his team at WealthCharter they're the perfect call for you to make. You can go to WealthCharter WealthCharterRetirement.com to schedule an appointment at their Ankeny office. So when we scheduled this show, we knew it was going to be in person. We knew there probably wasn't going to be too many sports topics. So we decided we're probably going to do the least formal, bigger than 12 we've ever done. And boy, did that come true. So we've got a couple sports topics. We're going to talk about how the College Football Playoff Committee announces that there's a shot that ratings could be used as playoff criteria.
Oof.
We're going to discuss Matt Rhule's comments. I've got a couple thoughts on freshmen playing basketball at Iowa State University. And then a whole lot of something else. I guess we'll just see once we get there.
A whole lot of Iowa talk today.
Yeah,
probably.
a whole lot of Iowa talk. So let's
talk.
start with the ratings. I believe it was Heather Dinich of ESPN reported that the College Football Playoff Committee could use TV ratings as a potential qualifier for the College Football Playoff.
If it doesn't get any shittier than that, I don't know what else will.
I'll let you start on this.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. It's just another point that the suits of this sport, the people with no names, no faces, behind closed doors, are continuing to ruin the sport that we all love. Slowly but surely. It's not these huge jabs. It's these little subtle shots, and it's just slowly killing the sport. I mean, for them to consider this is just absolutely bonkers in my mind. And the other thing is, I think Hassel brought this up on Two Guys this morning, was that you think about it, Fox and ESPN and all these companies control
exactly
when these kickoff times are happening. And you know damn well, we're here in the Big 12 Conference, that we get all the spots on ESPN Plus, and we have strong feelings about how we feel about ESPN Plus, because the quality of the broadcast, the camera, they're just completely different than what you get on Fox, CBS, or just regular ESPN. So for them to be the ones to control everything, I mean, technically they already are. We've already seen and heard things about ESPN kind of sabotaging the Big 12 back in the Bob Bowlesby era with Texas and Oklahoma. Now you have this potential thing kind of going on, and so if ESPN or Fox, whoever has a chance to put Ohio State in that primetime spot, they're going to do it every time. In fact, we saw that this year. How many times did Ohio State play on Big Noon Kickoff? Doesn't matter who they played. They could have played Sasquatch State, and then they would have been on Big Noon Kickoff every single Saturday because of that primetime slot. So those teams are going to have the advantages, where the Big 12, in this case, unless it's maybe Colorado in a big-time game at night, I just don't see. This is another thing that the Big 12 is going to have to possibly battle through, because now you have the SEC and the Big 10 running the playoff. They're running the formats. They want their teams in. The Big 12 is going to get half of that. It's just, we're just going to keep setting the conferences back that aren't the SEC and the Big 10. The rest of us, the ACC, the Big 12, the group of 5 schools, we're kind of going to just be left by the wayside here. And we're at the mercy at this point of the Big 10 and the SEC. And I'm not going to lie, it sucks. And I hope it's point we get some people to fix this. Unfortunately, it seems like everything's going to be settled in courts. Hell, we can't even have politicians agree on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and we're going to let them decide how college football is going to be played over the next 10 years. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me.
Well, so your point about the TV networks controlling who plays when, I know that Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, USC, schools like that are the biggest brands, but there's got to be an extent, right? Like what would happen if it would never happen, but what if you put Ohio State, what if they played at midnight every game on FS1 for an entire season? Their ratings wouldn't be as strong as normal.
No.
And what if you put Iowa State, which will never happen, every single Saturday on Big Noon Kickoff? They would probably have top 15, top 20 ratings just because of the spot that they're playing in. So to back up your point, when these networks are controlling who plays when, they're controlling the ratings, they're controlling who's talked about. So in turn, they're controlling the narratives. It cannot have any spot at dictating the playoff. And luckily, I don't think that will ever happen officially. Like it already happens. A couple of years ago, we saw it with Alabama against Florida State. If roles were reversed, Alabama was never getting left out of that playoff. They would have never gotten left out undefeated, even if they lost their star quarterback. So I don't think they're ever going to put this in paper because it probably already indirectly exists.
Yeah, and that's fair. The other thing I saw, when we talk about the playoff teams, the Big Ten already had 4 playoff teams last year. So that's not going to change if they get it the way they want it to be. However, the SEC, I believe, only got 3.
Mm-hmm.
The 4th team, however, and if you look at the SEC standings, I did this the other day, I wrote an article on it. There were like 6 teams that finished with 3 losses in conference play. How in the hell are they going to determine who that 4th team is?
TV ratings.
Is that what it is? I mean, because in that case, it's going to be a team like Alabama, who, the 2 weeks before, I think, or the last week of the regular season, got absolutely demolished by Oklahoma on national television on ESPN. And you're going to see like, oh yeah, that team belongs in the playoff. I don't think so. It's crazy to me.
So another school, they've probably been demolished on big TV networks.
I know you're going with this.
They get a lot of ratings. It's our good friends out west, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Their head coach, Matt Rhule, made some headlines locally last week. Do you want to summarize this? Because you could probably do it better than I could.
I mean, basically, he called out, somebody asked him about his recruiting process at Nebraska, and he pretty much said, we're not a Big 12 program. We want kids, because, Iowa State's got 6 commits right now from the state of Nebraska, and good for them. They find talent. Iowa State does a great job of finding talent in Nebraska, places like Wisconsin. They're finding these lower rated players and they turn them. That's the coin, the phrase, they turn them into 5-star players, 5-star culture, all about that. So for me, I really like what they do. However, for Nebraska's at this point where they feel like it's still 1995 or 1999, where they're just recruiting at this national level where everybody recognizes the big red N, but nobody does anymore because these recruits weren't even born the last time when Nebraska won to play for a national title. So things have completely changed in that college football landscape. And then you have Matt Rhule saying like, oh, we recruit nationally. We want to compete with the Ohio States and the Michigans of the world. But if you look at where Nebraska finished last year in the Big Ten, and I'm not a Big Ten guy by any means, maybe we should ask legends and listeners this one, because Nebraska didn't even finish in the top 10 in the Big Ten last year. So I don't see any world where they were competing with Ohio State or Michigan in that sense, because they're not even the same stratosphere in my book. Look at Nebraska, where they've been the last 2 decades. Outside of the Bo Pelini era, they've been absolute hot garbage. They just made their first bowl game, I think, in 8 years?
Yep.
Last season, the first time I think they won 6 games in a regular season in the last 8 years. So, and he's taking shots at Iowa State, who has competed for Big 12 championships multiple times over the last 5 years, competed for a playoff spot multiple times over the last 5 years. And here we are. Nebraska is the one taking shots, who has been trying to fight to get to a bowl game for the last 5 or 6 years. So to me, these 2 programs aren't even comparable, in my opinion. Yeah, Nebraska may be better known. They may be the original blue blood, 30, 20 years ago, but times have changed. And for Matt Rhule to say that and take shots at the Big 12, and he's the guy who spent time in the Big 12 at Baylor. Kudos to him for what he did at Baylor. He took over after the Art Briles era and that whole deal. Did a great job of turning them around. But to come back, kind of flopped in the NFL with the Panthers. But for him to come back and start taking shots at Iowa State and the Big 12 is a little silly in my book. And of course, I think a couple shows already on the network have shown that famous picture of Matt Campbell and Matt Rhule. Just like Matt Campbell just didn't even want to look at the guy when he shakes his hand, and I don't blame him, especially after those comments too today or the other day.
Am I crazy for thinking that Matt Rhule, what he did at Baylor, might be a little bit overrated? Not because he inherited a dumpster fire. Art Briles left that program in ruin. There's no question about that. But at the same time, it's not like winning at Baylor is winning at a place like Iowa State, at a place like Houston. You're in a recruiting hotbed and you've got money and you've got boosters. So while I think what he did is super impressive, it's not one of the greatest turnarounds in college football history. I think at the time was pretty fair to maybe think it was.
Well, two things. Well, it was before the NIL era.
Yep.
So it was before all that kind of came into play. And number two, I've been to Waco multiple times. I've been to Ames multiple times. Ames is far and away better than Waco. I don't know how many of you guys out there, or you guys in here, have been to Waco. It is not necessarily a destination place. It's not a place I would like to visit over a weekend. I mean, if I want to watch a football game there at McLean Stadium, sure, I will do that. Do I want to stay there for a week? I don't think so.
But here you are up here in Iowa.
I
guess that proves your point.
Yes.
The point I was getting at was I still think Matt Rhule is probably the right guy to get Nebraska back on the map, but I don't think Nebraska getting on the map is what their fans maybe expect or want. I think their fans, at least a large majority of them, are still stuck in the 90s to where they think getting back on the map is being one of the 5 best programs in the sport and being able to compete for a national championship.
Which is crazy because they can't even be the top 5 team in their own conference.
That's never going to happen again at Nebraska.
No.
Do I think Rhule is the guy that could maybe get them to where Iowa's been? Consistent 8, 9, 10 wins in the Big Ten? Sure. I think that's possible. They've got the NIL backing because despite the fact they're in a state that doesn't have a ton of money, similar to Iowa, they're the only football school. So you're not dividing those fans in half. They've got the advantage there. But I just don't see a world where in this current era, they're Ohio State. Like,
no.
Matt Rhule shouldn't even be mentioning Ohio State.
No.
It's not the 90s anymore where you've got Tom Osborne and you were the first program to develop strength and conditioning, essentially. They were the first program that started lifting weights. That's why they were so much better than everybody else, because you had all these farm kids that were stronger than the teams down south, stronger than the teams in Florida. And that's how they were able to compete. Those days are long gone, and it's not coming back. And Matt Rhule should probably spend more time focusing on his program than taking shots at other conferences that are lesser than he is.
And to be fair, there's not a lot of 5-star talent coming out of Nebraska.
Right.
I mean, that's just simple facts right there. So yeah, they do have to kind of beyond, I guess, further their reach when it comes to recruiting. And I get that because in a place like Nebraska, you can't just recruit local kids and expect to compete for Big Ten championships. You're going to have to go to the Texas, the Floridas, the Georgias of the world to get your players. But at the same time, I just don't understand the shots you're going to take, especially since he's been there. He's a guy that coached in the Big 12, and he's going to take shots at it. To me, was just completely unnecessary.
The argument that I would make is maybe he should be recruiting his own state. Like maybe you shouldn't be looking at what everybody at the top of the sport's doing. Like take Iowa State and Kansas basketball this last year for an example. Kansas had unlimited resources. They could go get any transfer that they wanted, and they did. And Bill Self had buyer's remorse the entire season and even complimented and talked about Iowa State's roster at, this is how Otzelberger built his roster. Maybe I should be going and recruiting a guy like Brant Chatfield to be my 8th man instead of AJ Storr, because this group works together as a team and as a unit. Why shouldn't Matt Rhule look above? Looking above isn't just looking at Ohio State. Looking above is looking at everybody else in the country that's not Northwestern, that's not Rutgers, that's not Georgia Tech. Like looking above is looking, well, what are teams in my area doing that's working? What are Iowa State doing? What are Iowa and Iowa State doing? Recruiting Midwest, in-state, 3-star talent, and they're developing them into NFL talent. Maybe the answer isn't going to Ohio, going to Florida, going to Texas to try and get these 5 stars, because they've already gotten 5 stars, and where's it gotten them?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They have a Patrick Mahomes wannabe at quarterback. I mean, I think Patrick Mahomes changed his haircut. I think that guy already changed. Dylan Rhule, I think he changed his haircut too. So yeah. No, I agree with what you're saying. It's just crazy to me that he did that. And you're right. A lot of the coaches before Matt Rhule in Nebraska did the same kind of thinking where they had to go nationally with recruits. And you're right. It has not worked out over the last decade or so.
It's a lot of time in Nebraska.
That is. That is. That's a state that's like, what, 2 hours away from here?
Yeah, about 2 hours west.
Yeah.
You can. The only difference, or I guess the main difference, is in Nebraska. Knowledge, the word that starts with a K, starts with an N over there. That's how they spell it.
Okay.
The N on their hat.
Yeah. Okay.
They all say the N stands for knowledge.
Knowledge. Okay.
Not great public schooling over in those parts of the country, but that's besides the point. We're going to move on to a little bit of basketball and then talk about a whole lot of nothing after that. But first, we'd like to give a shout out to our friends at Freedom Tire. I'm sure you've got a rental car. If for some reason your rental car company sucks.
Well, that's funny. We could probably tell a good story on that. Yeah, we had a rental car situation in Kansas City. We flew to Kansas City for whatever reason. To get from San Antonio to Des Moines is not easy. However, there's a bunch of flights from San Antonio to Kansas City. Did that. Got a rental car, and all they had was, they said, "Oh, we have electric cars." I'm like, where the hell am I going to charge an electric car from Kansas City to Des Moines? It's a 3-hour drive. Like, we're not getting an electric car. So ended up actually getting a I don't even know what it is. It's almost like a Traverse, but it's a GMC version. Is it Acadia? Something like that. I don't remember what it is, but yeah.
Well, for some reason, they gave you a terrible rental car and it breaks down.
Possible.
Or you pop a tire. Freedom Tires, where you got to go. We've got
Stop by Freedom.
We've got 5 locations within probably a 20-minute drive of you. One in Ankeny, or not Ankeny. One in Ames, Altoona, West Des Moines on Fleur Drive, and Urbandale. Anyone out there, whether you're in your own car, rental car, before the summer rolls around, go and get your car checked out. Get an oil change. If you need new tires, need them rotated, Freedom Tire, Quentin Crowner and his team will get it all done for you. We'd also like to give a shout out to our friends at Circa Sports Iowa.
Ooh.
There's no better app with lines and competitive lines than Circa Sports Iowa, especially in racing and golf. Their odds are second to none. You're finally in the great state of Iowa.
I can.
If you'd like to place a wager or two, NBA playoffs are going on. And Stanley Cup playoffs are also happening. We got baseball. It's one of the best times of the year to go to Circa Sports Iowa, especially if you're an expert in one of these sports. If you're a huge baseball fan, there's money to be made betting baseball. All of it. Go to Circa Sports Iowa. You can get the app today, or you can visit circasports.com/Iowa. You can check out all of their promos, or just if you want to go put $10 on the Cubbies, it's probably not a bad bet.
I don't think I'll be betting on the Cubs while I'm here. I don't even know. Am I able to download the app since I'm here now?
Yep, now that you're here.
I can?
Yep.
All right, I might have to do that.
Yeah, you can.
So get some draft things tonight, maybe. Probably get some draft odds.
Yeah, draft props.
Be a good one.
But yeah, anyone out there, check out Circa Sports Iowa. We always appreciate their support. So I've got just a little complaint about Iowa State basketball. So I don't know where this narrative started that Iowa State doesn't play or develop freshmen in basketball specifically. It probably started with Noyes and Drusitis really being played out of the rotation this season. Played some minutes in Maui, didn't make a lot of shots, and then really was out of the rotation. I don't know what the entire story there was, but what I would say is there's a reason he probably wasn't playing. And then Omaha Blue, it's normal why fans freaked out about Omaha Blue not playing, because he was 5-star recruit, biggest recruit in school history, local kid. But at the same time, he was always kind of thought to be a project offensively. Like great athlete, great body. He probably could have stuck around defensively day one, but the offensive skill set just wasn't there as an 18-year-old to compete against 23-year-olds. But I think those two players have maybe broken the brains of some in the fan base that, well, TJ doesn't play freshman, so why would you come here? Because if you look at the first 3 years of the TJ Altsberger era, Tyrese Hunter started from day one, started every game that season. Of course, we all know what happened, transferred out. If it was any other year, though, he might have stayed, because it was the first year of the NIL madness, and Iowa State wasn't ready. That's fine. Year 2, Taman Lipsey starts from day 1. He started every single game since that point, other than like 1 or 2 due to injury. Milo Momcilovic, another freshman, comes in, starts every game outside of injury. So right there, in the first 3 years of TJ's tenure, those are 3 impact freshmen that not only played significant minutes, but started. Demarion Watson also played as a freshman. So I don't know where this narrative started, but I think next year you've got one of the highest rated classes in the country, one of the highest rated in school history, Jamarian Bateman, Xavier Mitchell, Dominika Spleta, the German, Killian Torre from France. Like, I think Otzelberger's track record has proven that at least one of those guys will be starting caliber. Like just based off of the track record. And I don't really know where that narrative changed. I get where fans are coming from, but I think when you get lost in this madness of roster construction, I do think you still have to look like, all right, well, Bateman's a top 30 prospect. He's an elite defensive guard that can shoot. I think maybe you just got to give Otzelberger the benefit of the doubt and assume if he can't start, he's probably going to play significant minutes.
I think it just has to do with where college basketball is today. And I know this has been talked about ad nauseum here because people want guys with experience. You have guys going D2 to D1 now. It's not uncommon anymore to see that in the NIL world where you get a guy from like Drake, or that's not D2, but you get a guy from Drake
easy there,
or a smaller conference to come play for you, or a guy from like maybe VCU, FAU, wherever it may be, to come start for your program, or a D2 guy, a true D2 guy, to come. If coaches had it the way they want it, would you rather have a bunch of freshmen and sophomores playing for you? Or would you rather have a starting 5 that have guys with 5 or 6 years of experience?
Exactly.
You're going to take the experience every time in college basketball, especially with coaches today. The change and the turnover at the head coaches is absolutely wild, because if you don't win there in 2 years, you might be on your way out. So if you can fill your guys with experience and guys who've had a bunch of experience, whether it's in the tournament, conference play, whatever it may be, you're going to take those guys because they've been there. They've done that. Where these freshmen, they might come in as 5-star players, 4-star players, whatever it may be. But just like in football, you don't know how it's going to work out right away. Maybe they are good. Maybe they do work out, but maybe they don't. Maybe they need a year or two to develop. But as a head coach of a college program, you can't wait 2 or 3 years to have these guys ready. You need guys that can play right now, who can compete for conference championships, who can get you in the tournament, give you a chance, at least when it comes to March. I think that's just where college basketball has gone today. You're going to see less and less freshmen moving forward in the starting 5 than probably any other period of history in college basketball, just because of where we are with the NIL situation.
Well, and then you look at what these bench guards are making.
Yeah.
To get brought in and maybe not even play, and you're making $300,000. Why not just why not have your bench of spots 11 to 14? Why not have that made up of freshmen that are developing in your program? That's another thing where I think some fans of the sport need to get past, oh my gosh, this freshman's coming in and he's not playing at all. Well, if you've got a solid top 8, do you really need freshman X from Minneapolis to be playing 12 minutes a game, or can he be a very cheap practice player? As unfair as that can be to look at from the perspective of those freshmen, of those practice players, guys 10 through 15 on a roster, you're not going to play regardless. So those spots are either going to low major transfers coming up, or it's going to freshmen. And the cheaper option most of the time is probably going to be giving that to freshmen. But that was just a little soapbox rant that I stumbled across this morning. So I think that's all the sports we've got today. Aiden, do we have a Iowa trivia question?
I do.
The first in person.
Yes.
Oh boy.
This is an approximate number, so there is not technically a correct answer, but approximately how many breweries are there in Iowa?
Oh,
This is going to make your trip a lot longer.
well, I'm not going to all of them. I mean, I'll go to the ones in the Des Moines area. I probably already have by now.
Didn't know
He's
you were a
lying.
quitter.
How many breweries? I'm gonna guess it's probably like 10 in Des Moines. Des Moines is the biggest city in the state, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna guess there's probably around 120.
Jake?
So would this count like Big Grove has an Iowa City and Des Moines location? Is that one or is that two?
No idea.
It's got to count as one. If it's the same
I would
place,
say one.
I'm gonna
it's the same
go.
brewery.
I'm gonna go 90.
150,
Wow.
approximately,
Wow.
allegedly.
I got 120. It's not
Yeah,
that far.
it's not a bad
So
guess.
you're here for what? 4 days?
Till Sunday. I gotta leave Sunday morning. I got
It's like 3.5.
an Astros game to go to in Kansas City. I got to watch my Astros. Take
So
down some Royals.
at that rate, you've got to hit about 43 breweries a day. Can you do that?
No, there's no way.
Quitter.
As much as I would love to, I would have to spend like weeks here just driving around the whole
Quitter.
state of Iowa, going to all the places I probably don't want to go to or never have heard of. To go to all these breweries, it would take a long time. And there's probably somebody out there that has been to almost all of them by now, or close.
Yeah, his name's Keith Murphy.
Well, kudos to him. I think it would be fun. We should do that one day. We should rent a van. We'll do it like a van thing, and we'll just drive around the whole state and just go to different.
Well, there was
breweries.
that guy a couple years ago. He did the Poncheros challenge. Do you remember this?
I don't know what that is.
Do you know what Poncheros is?
I don't know what Poncheros.
Do you know what Chipotle is?
I know what Chipotle is. Yeah.
Think Chipotle, but 10 to 15 times better, somewhere in that ballpark. But it's an Iowa chain. I want to say there's like 35, maybe 40 locations, and some guy drove around the state and went to every Poncheros and ate a burrito at all of them. And
Why?
I think he just did it for attention at first, and then it started to go viral on social media, and Ponchero said if you do it, it's free burritos for a year or free burritos for 2 years or something like that.
That's still not worth it to me.
But if you look at a map of Iowa, there isn't really any in western Iowa. So it was kind of drive around the metro at 12, drive up to, I think there's a couple in Fort Dodge, maybe one in Mason City, and then head east, go to Cedar Falls, Waterloo, go south down to Iowa City and back. So it wasn't like driving completely around the state of Iowa, but it was driving around a big loop. Yeah, Alex Gook, in front of the program, has the map pulled up. 26 locations. The route would be 12 hours and 53 minutes. Yeah, and that's kind of the...
Why?
Man, that trip to Burlington, that really throws it off.
He went to the Fort Dodge in Burlington. I think that's when I told Matty Van Weeks I was going to go to Fort Dodge in Burlington. He got really excited.
Easy there. Easy. But yeah, I guess, yeah, we were talking about breweries. So
yeah,
you're probably not going to be doing that on your trip to Iowa, but I just want to start there. So where did your fascination with the great state of Iowa as a Texas boy, where did that start?
I don't know. There's a picture from this morning. I don't really know. There was actually a time I was kind of doing some work for a different company there. Wide Right Natty Light. I did some stuff for them.
Me and Aiden are both alums.
I think
we're all alum.
All three of us have been there at some point. I did it. There just so happened to be one particular year where there was 3 recruits from the San Antonio area that were all committed. I don't know if you guys remember that. They were all committed to Iowa State.
I do. I couldn't tell you the names, but I remembered.
Oh gosh. Jordan Morgan was one of them. Oh, it's going to kill me. I can tell you what high school's at. One went to Steele High School. One went to Cibolo. Or one went to Shirts. I can't remember the third guy. I think Jordan Morgan was from, there's a private school in San Antonio. He was there. But anyways, I went to all 3 of their games and I did reports on them. So I think that's kind of where it just so happened to be that one year, because in San Antonio, there's not a lot of D1 talent. Like, yeah, you usually get a kid, at least like 2 or 3 kids there that are probably going to Texas or Texas A&M or TC or whatever. But at that time, for 3 kids from that particular area to all go to Iowa State, I thought that was extremely fascinating. And it was actually before they all committed, I think. I think maybe one of them was committed at the time, but it was just, I don't know. I caught fascination with it. And at that time, I was looking to kind of venture out in my writing and do that. And that particular time, Wide Right and Natty Light was available. So I kind of did some work for them for a while. And then, I don't know, it kind of just started from there. And then I think that same year, I went up here for my first game, Iowa State and Texas 2019. That was the
ass man.
Yeah, the ass man, Connor Sally, walked it off with that game-winning field goal against Texas that year. And met some people over here, did some sightseeing, drank some beer here the first time, and kind of just fell in love with the place ever since. And I don't know. It kind of just worked out for me. I mean, here we are, 4 or 5 years later, and then get a message from you, Jake, and Chris Williams called me and kind of said, hey, you want to kind of join what we're being a part of? I was like, absolutely. And I'm not gonna lie to you, he didn't even have to pay me. He could have said, you're just gonna do this shit for free, and I'd have been like, okay. And I would have done it. I told him that. I was like, I'm not here for money. I do it because I really love what I do, and it kind of just all worked out, and I'm happy to be here, happy to be part of a team from the great state of Iowa, and I really do enjoy my time here. It's a great place to be. It's I always said this before, but like Iowa State to me is just such a family friendly. It feels like the fan base is just one giant family. Like you can run into somebody, they'd give you the shirt off their back, they'd give you a beer. Hell, I was at the George Strait concert last year, and had Scott and Kyle Ademo just handing me beers left and right. Met Brent Bloom last year for the first time, gave me a 6-pack of Ames Lager, which was absolutely delicious, and it felt like I was at home. So it really felt really good for me.
Yeah, it's cool because everybody at the company, either native Iowan, lives in Iowa now, working in Iowa media, or someone like Chris Hassel, grew up in Iowa, big Iowa fan, now lives in Florida. You're like the lone.
Yeah, no.
Didn't grow up in Iowa, don't live in Iowa now, but you're certainly an honorary Iowan.
We call that a few times, yeah.
And our show is different because we truly are trying to go
Big 12.
Ames to Lubbock,
yeah,
from Morgantown to Provo. But nonetheless, it is cool how you've embraced Iowa and Iowa's embraced you. And like when you come, that article you wrote for Heartland Sports last year, and all the social media stuff of going to brewery after brewery after brewery after brewery.
That was really, yeah. At Angry Goldfish had a sriracha coated tenderloin, really good. Of course, the goldfish there were absolutely delicious. We got a few bags to go for later, but yeah, I have a good time. It's always fun to be here. And yeah, I guess, I really never thought about it. I really am the only one probably at the company that has no ties to the state of Iowa. I think you're right. I don't think everybody else does in some way or shape or fashion. Either they work in Des Moines, from here. I guess I am the only one.
Yeah, like Van Winkle, he grew up in California, but moved to Iowa.
Smart man.
Went to Ames High. Murph grew up in Vermont, went to Florida in college, got a job here, but there's no one more Iowan than Keith Murphy. But yeah, no, it's just cool, and it's fun that you come up here.
It's fun, yeah.
The last 2 years, I'm sure you're going to try and make it even more of a yearly tradition.
For as long as I'm here, I'll keep coming up here until Chris Williams or Aiden over there gets tired of my bullshit, and then maybe that comes to an end. But for right now, I plan. I'm going to be. I think I'm coming back for the home opener.
All right.
I wish I was going to Ireland. I do. I really want
South Dakota.
Yeah, I really wish I was going to go to that Ireland trip, but I don't think I'm gonna make it there. So, I figured the next best thing was maybe to come to the home opener and and check that out. Cyhawk week that week too.
Well, so the bad news is you were a couple minutes late, and I know Aiden was kind of on his last straw. So
I know I was ready to be. When I came in here, I was ready to be cussed out as soon as I walked in the door because I know how he is. He gets
Aiden's
really.
he's
I figured it'd be
ruthless.
best to wait till after the show.
Yeah, I'll just get my lashings after the show.
Aiden's ruthless. It may not come across on air, but when it comes down to business,
Don't cross me.
yeah, don't cross Aiden.
I am great. He puts up with a lot of bullshit. I mean,
Us moving our showtime around
oh my gosh.
every other week. We recorded at 9 p.m., 7 a.m.
Probably about every time imaginable we've recorded, every day imaginable, except
Yeah.
every Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think we've done a Friday or Saturday, but I think we've done every other day of the week.
Now we have with this Thursday show. Yes, we
Yeah.
have. So yeah,
We've done it in St. Louis, or I guess you've pretty much mostly been in Texas, but you've done it out of Vegas, Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I've done it out of St. Louis.
we're gonna be going more. I think in a couple weeks I'm going somewhere else. So yeah, this show's gonna be everywhere.
But yeah, it's kind of cool I know we've still got the off season, but it is kind of cool to look back at where we started back in August, really with no clue on what the show is going to look like. We probably had 3 or 4 phone calls, lasted a couple hours total, and we were just trying to talk how are we gonna structure this show? And
I don't even know when Chris Williams he called me and we're at a concert down in San Marcos watching. Speaking of San Marcos, we were talking about that earlier. We were watching a concert, and I had kind of been in contact with Chris a couple of days before that, and playing phone tag a little bit. And he called me in the middle of that concert, and I'm like, "Screw it, I'll walk out of this thing and answer this phone." And he did it, and he called me, and then 5 days later or whatever, we're recording our first show. And, we hadn't met, we hadn't talked. And I just was like, yes, I was going to say yes to whatever he could have told me jump off the damn bridge. I probably told him yes at that time. And I just did that. And I was like, it did work out. It was a little hard at first. I mean, I think it's still, not at times, but when you don't know somebody, this is only the second time I've met you. I've met Aiden now for the first time.
yeah,
An hour ago or whatever it's been. So it's a little different. There's a little bit of a learning curve. I'm not gonna lie to you, looking into your eyes for the last 45 minutes has been a little difficult.
yeah, it's been different than looking into a camera lens.
I'm so used to looking in my little shitty webcam than looking across at somebody across the table here. So it's definitely a different vibe, but I think the longer we keep doing this, the more, it's going to get better. We're going to have more chemistry. Obviously, we're not Keith and Andy, who've been working together for the last 20 years or whatever it's been. So I think we can continue to build on this, continue to get better, have some more fun with the show. I think we've got some great ideas coming up for the off season. We're going to mix things up a little bit and maybe change the way, a couple things here and there. We do things maybe next season, because last season, I mean, we had 4 days to kind of prepare for our first show.
we didn't have.
We were like, what are we gonna do? And we kind of made it work. We kind of figured out a format and a system we kind of want to do. So I think moving forward, we kind of know what we like, what we don't like to do. So we're gonna try a couple different things this year for football season.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's been a blast. Aiden, you got anything else?
A+ work, guys.
Same to you.
Hopefully, this has been a pretty easy season for you. I know we've probably caused you some stress.
Oh, no, not at all. Never.
Caused you a little stress.
The only stress happened when it rained for 3 minutes in Texas.
Oh God, yeah. We don't get that started. Yeah,
What I woke up today to the loudest thunder I've heard in my life. This morning, I'm like, did that wake you up, Aiden? It was at 7:30. I swore my apartment building got struck by lightning, and I'm like, oh great, we're not gonna have a show today. But then I woke up and remembered that I'm in the great state of Iowa.
Yeah.
And
the power grid isn't Phil here.
5 minutes of rain isn't gonna ruin the podcast.
Yeah. It's not even rain. Sometimes it just gets windy and it's like the power goes out. I'm like,
Someone looks the wrong direction.
Somebody's like, I wonder what's over there. And we hear it. It's crazy. It really is. I'll never understand why. Sometimes I do wonder why I live where I live. My parents are actually afraid that I'm going to move up here one day.
There's worse things to be afraid of.
That is true. That is true. I don't know. I think one day maybe, my wife's here, so I can't say everything, but I'm not going to be a snowbird. I've always said that because people up here are always snowbirds. They want to go down to Florida. I guess they want to come down to Texas or wherever to get away from the winters here. I'm going to be a summer heat bird where once it gets...
You're going to be like a duck.
Once it gets summer in Texas and it's 105 and it feels like 110 outside, where I sweat, I got to change clothes 5 minutes after being outside. I want to maybe get somewhere up here where I can just go away for the summer and enjoy my summers up here, and we do that.
This is like the time of the year where we see all the birds start coming back.
Yes.
So
I'd be coming, about right now where it's not like 95 in April. Yeah. I would come late April and I'd leave, I guess, maybe in October, November and do half and half.
Well, let's go drink some beer and listen to some country music. This has been Bigger Than 12.
For real, though. Appreciate both of you guys.
Yeah.
The show was always really fun. So glad you're on the team, Derek.
Yeah.
I think, thank you for setting up everything. Of course. We got to do some boot scooting boogieing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's drink some beer, listen to some country music, and thanks to everyone who supported Bigger Than 12 this week and every week. Go give our friends at WealthCharter Retirement a visit. Freedom Tire, Circus Sports Channel, all of those great companies. Thanks for supporting what we do here in Iowa Everywhere.